Hello, and welcome to the first episode of what I am calling The Dandruff Show. A great original name, huh? Essentially, what I'd want to have this show for is when I do rants or I go on about PC hardware. Mostly rants, though, and things I feel don't belong in the regular show, where I'm going to try to keep those rants shorter, and I can use this show to go on about things if I want to. It's going to help you understand my opinions and hopefully inspire you to make wise decisions when buying games, buying gaming hardware, or just about whatever's going on in our hobby. The first topic that I want to cover is one that I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me about, and that's I think early access is good, and I really like early access. I like the program itself, but I think it's the developers that abuse the system. But please understand, early access is not a perfect child. It has its flaws, ones that I think can be worked on, but it's going to take some time, and Valve is going to have to put this time, which is also going to mean money, into it, so it's understandable if they don't want to jump in and curate their system. So, here we go. It's arguable that my favorite game ever, the game that I've played the most in the last decade, Kerbal Space Program, would not have risen to the heights it has, pun intended, without the aid of being in early access. The devs kept an open line of communication at all times with their fans and customers, giving updates every Tuesday about what's going on as well as future plans. I consider them the poster child for what early access can and should be, as it was a game that was on Steam in early 2013 and then released 25 months later on April 27th of this year. A pretty decent amount of time to be on early access, but without overstaying its welcome. Now let's go on to a bad one, but I'll save the worst for last. Before that, though, let's talk about an awful example, something you should clearly not do, and that is Space Base DF9. After running out of money, the game was abandoned and left for modders to finish, which is shameful. It's not the modding community's job to finish a game. It's their job to enhance that game. This is unacceptable, and it seems like a really cool game, but I will never buy it, and I cannot recommend anyone buy it because it will never be finished. The survival genre is probably the oldest baby I have ever seen. This is a genre that has been in development for a long time now, with the only one I know of to have never been on early access is Don't Starve. It was complete upon release, and to be fair, Don't Starve Together is in early access. Moving on to Ark Survival Evolved, a game that has benefited from the program immensely by having something very functional from the start that is full of potential, and clearly the only way to unlock it is by providing the funds that they need so they can finish their game. Otherwise, I think it may have only been about half of what it was originally planned to be. And then there's DayZ. Yep, you can't talk about early access without talking about DayZ. It's probably the worst example of early access in history, and although it is a great game, I have put over 100 hours into it. It has its flaws. DayZ was one of the first early access games that I had purchased, and it got me very familiar with the negatives of the program very quickly. It's been on there since December of 2013 and remains to this day. In the time that I've played it, there really wasn't much improvement to the controls, to the game itself, and that was over a period of months. I've recently played the game, and there have been improvements to the game engine, which was actually completely rewritten at one point. Vehicles have been added to the game. It still feels very unfinished, and leaves me wondering if it ever will be. Ultimately, the developers are the ones responsible for progress on their games, and one of the things that I think could improve the early access program would be to mandate developers keep their community updated at least once every 2 weeks. Even if it's just working on bug fixes, I think they would like to know. I think we would like to know. Not only that, but I think once a month a game update should be mandatory. And even then, if it's just fixes and no other actual content, that's fine. We just want to know that things are happening. Last, if the game is in early access and then it's considered abandoned by the developers, Steam should not only offer refunds to everyone who owns that game currently, but if they continue to sell that game, it should cost next to nothing. I will pay for a game that is in development because I like the progress. I like seeing the game evolve and blossom, and often I will put down an early access game after playing it for a good long while and then pick it up to where it's now a new, completely different game, and I feel like I've gotten more out of my money for that, and I can do that as many times as I want as the game is still in development. What I won't pay for is a game that is showing no signs of improvement. Either way, I understand that there is risk involved, and if you don't want to take that risk, I totally understand. It's your money. Don't do it if you want to. But if you want to wait until the game is absolutely finished, or possibly it's in a more playable state, then do so. Please leave your comment below about what you think on early access, and hit that like button if you want to see a PC holiday buyer's guide. Thank you, and I will see you next time.